Hi, folks. I just wanted to come on before we started this first podcast and just tell you a little bit about why we're doing it. It all started with me suffering quite badly with depression and mental health issues generally, anxiety and things like that. And from that, I wrote a blog and I wrote a book about my experiences of that depression with connected to things like adoption and the trauma that comes with it. Em is with me because she's my partner and she's been through it with me and seen it from her side. So she's key to this, really. You'll hear us mention Brian. He's the inner chimp or the negative Nancy that lives in our heads. He crops up quite a bit. Also, a little bit of a warning, there may be some things that may be triggering for some people. It's not too bad, it's pretty low-key, but just letting you know. With that said, let's go. Who's Wally podcast, episode 1. It's untitled. Maybe we'll get one at the end. Thank you. This is the Who's Wally podcast. Let's chat mental health. Can you do me a favour? Can you put that not on the table?
Why?
Because it...
Yeah, okay.
And also that...
I'm not going to write or fiddle.
But if you are, do it there.
Do it there, okay.
And your phone can go there. You need to get as much off the table unless we are physically doing something like on the keyboard or moving the mouse, so it's obvious we're doing it.
Yeah.
The rest needs to be as clear as possible.
Okay, got you.
And then that way.
All right, boss.
Cathartic mental health chat with Andy
and Em.
Let's put it like this, because we're obviously talking about mental health, and this is the first podcast, and we're still trying to.
Podcast.
This is the first podcast. You have told me a while ago that you had issues with mental health over the years, and I don't think you'll be
poor mental health.
Yeah. And I don't think you'll forgive me for saying I hope you'll forgive me for saying that you'd had issues with things like bullying when you were growing up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you moved house a lot.
Yeah.
An awful lot. So you were at different schools, were you? Often?
I had 2 primary schools and 1 secondary school, but it wasn't it wasn't the moving of schools. I don't think there was a lot of house moves. Okay,
so
just an unstable sort of house.
Without going too much into that, I was kind of going with the idea that I'm guessing the fact that you kind of understood, you wanted to understand the sort of places I was going to this year with the anxiety and the depression and the weird social stuff that I had issues with. Yeah. And you spent a lot of time learning about that, and that was amazing that you did that. And I've had a lot of relationships over the years. I mean, a lot. I mean, I haven't got enough fingers and toes.
I don't really want to know about them all, to be fair.
We haven't got enough fingers and toes to count them.
You talk about your relationships and, the fact that there was breakdowns in those relationships because of,
because of me,
issues.
Basically.
And, I know for a fact that a lot of my relationships in the past, and not particularly long relationships, were the wrong person because of self-esteem, self-confidence, all of that.
Yeah.
There's lots and lots of times when I found myself in situations with guys that I probably never should have got myself into, because of just not liking myself enough and feeling, all that stuff. So it's very similar.
Okay, so with that in mind...
Yeah.
I wish I could have done this without laughing.
What?
With that in mind, thinking about all that...
Yeah.
What's your favourite cheese?
Well, it's got to be... I quite like a Comté, actually. Comté.
Oh, no, that's a new one on me.
Comté. You've not had a Comté?
I've had a cup of tea.
Comté. Not a crumpet or crumpety. It's not a crumpety. I don't think. Well, I don't
What
know.
is that?
Comté?
Yeah.
It's a French.
Oh,
It's a
oui.
French cheese.
Ah.
It's quite a hard cheese.
Oh.
Hard cheese, eh?
Oh,
Anyway.
smell my cheese.
No, smell my cheese.
That was I had a point. It was more about I don't want to sort of lead you into something that might make me look good. But
I think that's what you're going to do.
I'm trying not to.
I think you're leading my conversation into talking about you.
Well, it's not called Who's M.
Oh, here we go. I thought this was a partnership.
Maybe it should be called Who's Everybody.
I thought this was a partnership.
Who's Wally? Sponsored by everybody. I was just going to say, ask you, how have you been able to deal with basically being pushed away by me? And you were continuously encouraging me and contacting me and asking me to do things and telling me I should do this. And I mean, there's not a problem with you telling me to do things because that's what I needed. But what do you think was it the driving force behind that?
Well,
I don't want you to say, because I love him. Like, I don't need all that stuff. I mean, although that's great, I don't.
No,
I'm not asking for those sorts of responses.
Yeah, no, I know. I think there's some part of me that really is quite fascinated by the human mind and the psychology of it all. And it's not just because I love you and I was worried about you and I wanted to help. There's probably lots of issues with me that I should, probably at some point I should have, walked away and gone, well, I can't do this anymore. On a serious note.
Yeah, I agree. And don't get me wrong, I actually tried, didn't I?
Yeah,
I did actually.
Well,
at one point we split up because I was like, I'm not prepared to drag you along with this shit anymore.
No.
I don't see why. I felt guilty because I couldn't bring myself forward enough to be how I was when we first met. I felt like I'm pushing you away purposely to protect myself from you leaving me. Which is one of those weird things that adoptees end up with, this attachment issue where they're so convinced that everybody around them is going to leave that they either back away themselves and say, I'm protecting myself, I don't want this hurt, or having real problems with their partner doing things outside of the relationship. I mean, I've got to be honest, the worst parts of it for me, the most difficult parts of it for me when I was the worst, I had issues just with not knowing what you were doing because I was so convinced that you would be talking to other people about me and they were convincing you what a twat I was and I was not worth the effort and you were going to go off and find somebody else and do wasn't such hard work. But
you were almost making that happen by being the way that you were.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was almost a conscious
self-perpetuating sort of cycle of destruction.
Yeah. And I'm not on my own.
And I don't actually know, I don't really know whether my staying within this and keeping it going and wanting to make it be okay was partly because I quite like, I don't know, do I quite like that challenge? Do I quite like that sort of want to be needed? There's a lovely thing when someone needs you and wants you, but then if that comes along with it, a pushing away, then pushing me away. I don't know. It's a very confusing. I was very confused for a long time with how you were, and it's not an easy position to be in. But I see it very differently now, actually.
Oh, really?
I do. I see it very differently now. And there were times when we'd have words or whatever, and I'd be in floods of tears, and I'd be talking to myself in my own way and saying, well, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to do this. I can't do this anymore. This is stupid. And would, talk myself out of being with you.
Yeah.
But then I'd be like, no, I can't do that because I don't want this to happen. This is worth it. And there was an underlying thing, and I don't know what it was. And it was just a feeling, and it was, well, don't feel like this about anybody else. And that's what kept me from just walking away from it.
Wow. That is amazing.
So,
That is truly amazing. I know you've said that to me before, and I wasn't goading you to say it, but it struck me that that sort of your attitude towards all of this has been incredible compared to I've been in relationships where I've done things a very similar ilk, as opposed to an elk, because that's an animal.
An elk is an animal, yeah. It's a bit like a moose, isn't it, I think?
No, they're strawberry flavoured. They come in a little packet. With the cardboard, the cardboard tops.
I prefer a chocolate
the whole
one.
moose just smelled of the taste of the cardboard.
No, I prefer a chocolate mousse to a strawberry one.
And people have just left, or I've just gone. And I was the same. As much as difficult as I found just being myself and trying to be me was, I really truly didn't want to walk away either. I don't want to turn this into some sort of love fest, but at the moment it's where we are talking to ourselves. We are, but we're not, because there's thousands of people out there listening to this right now.
We're basically talking to each other.
Yeah, but that is the point.
With headphones through microphones.
Yeah, but this is the only way I can do it with my. No, that's not true. We do speak.
I know we do.
We are very open,
I know.
and that is the weird thing. Is that I am an extremely open person, and the reason we got to the point where I was so closed off, and you knew about it, and I was saying, "Look, I can't do this anymore," was because I was open, and yet, conversely, I was doing exactly the opposite.
The thing that I sort of think about now is that the person that I met and that person that I was with is that the person that I'm with now, because it's a very different thing. There's back when we first met, there was a very affectionate person, and that has sort of disappear to the point of nothing, because you had no emotional connection whatsoever.
I hadn't got any for myself.
No,
that's
exactly.
The thing. I couldn't share anything out that I hadn't got any of.
I know, and
that's the almost the sad part about it is you do. I mean, I don't know if anybody else in podcast land has felt the same, but for me, not being able to connect with my own emotions means that I've got none spare for anybody else, and you have no compassion for them either.
Yeah.
No empathy, nothing.
No,
it's like you just don't care.
Yeah. Well, there was
and I get chastised myself for the fact that I don't care, because I know that I'm not that sort of person, and it frustrated me that I wasn't able to connect with my emotions. And as I sit here now on this really uncomfortable bloody chair,
I'm glad I've got a cushion.
And I do think that I'm different, and I have come to the point where I'm letting a lot more out than what I was, and it's much easier to tap into the happy bits, and I'm allowing myself to do that now, which I wasn't doing before. I was basically telling myself, or Brian was telling me not to.
Because there's also, there's when you asked me about why I stuck by you, basically, like I said, but there's, what goes around in my head is a lot of it is, well, what am I getting out of this? Because there's, I can give and give and give and give and give, but I have my needs. I have needs too, on a serious note.
We all have needs.
We all do have needs. And, there's only so much sort of you can take without having anything given back to you. I know. And that I question that definitely at times.
Yes, and I'm not going to sit here and say that's it. I'm going to change everything.
Oh no, because I know that's not the.
But that's not because I'm going to then decide to. I'm not telling you that everything that goes on is temporary, because it's not. It's a journey, and I've been through quite a lot of shit, and
Yeah,
you've been through a lot of shit with me, and it's just about learning the mechanisms that help to basically tell yourself that these things that you believe, that you now sit here now thinking about, aren't real. They don't exist in reality, and you just need to take that and go, right, is this real? Is this what I'm feeling real? And it's a yes or no thing. And then if it's a yes thing, you go, well, if it's real, what can I do about it? And then can I do something now? If I can't do something about it now, when can I do something about it? And then you put them into the little categories, and you go down the scale until eventually you get to a point where you're like, right, I can do something about this today, and then I can wash my hands of it. And I kind of do that now in my mind.
Yeah, I think you were going through the thing that you were going through, trying to find your way of coping with shutting off and shutting down. And then I was worrying about you and how you were. So a lot of the time I wasn't really thinking about me.
No, I know. That's not a good feeling for me, to be honest.
Yeah. Anyway.
I've said that.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
back to my original question was
back to a podcast that we're actually recording for other people to listen to.
How did you find
this is therapy in itself?
How did you drive? What was your drive to sort of continue on with all this? And then you've answered that question.
Yeah.
And I think you've probably helped a lot of other people as well,
because
because there will be people in your situation who are married and in partnerships with adoptees, and they will be on the outside going, I have no idea what to do with this information that I'm not getting back from this person. And what you've said and how you've dealt with it is going to be useful to someone. So I think that's great.
I mean, it all comes down to individuality, and if you want to stick by it, and if you see that there's a future there, or there's a next stage through something, and you're not, and you know that underneath all of the shit that's going on, that person is actually a lovely person, that, they're not just being a dick.
It's actually quite true, I am.
They're not just being a dick or an asshole just because of them, that this person is actually, that there is a person underneath all of that is potentially hurting or finding things hard, then, I just couldn't walk away from that. So.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Now you ask me something.
Oh, do I? Okay. Yeah, so
it's a two-way. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. It's a conversation road.
I need more wine. That's what I need.
We need to go to the shop.
The shop won't be open now, will it?
Just go.
Is it still open? What time is it?
It's 11 o'clock.
Oh, no, it's not going to still
be open. At night,
open.
people. At night. 11 o'clock in the night.
So I will ask you a question. Therapy.
Yes.
You've had some recently.
Yeah, I've had a few sessions, but I stopped it because I paused it because I was heavily involved in publishing a book. Publishing a book, by the way.
What's your book called?
It's called Who's Wally? It's called Who's Wally by Andy Wallis. Subtitle is Adoption, Brian, and Me.
Yes, and it's
published by Amazon. Good old Jeff Bezos, the man that went into space in a giant penis.
And who doesn't pay taxes.
Good luck getting this on Amazon Music. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, are you planning to do more?
What? More
Therapy.
books? Oh, therapy. Yes, I am. And I was slightly taken aback by the last session that I cancelled, because I cancelled it a little bit too late, and then I was potentially asked to pay the fee anyway. And I was like, well, I don't really want to pay the fee because I'm not doing it. Anyway, I managed to talk around, and I didn't have to pay it. But that wasn't really the point. The point was I've stopped doing it because I couldn't really manage editing, publishing the book, and doing all that stuff at the same time as doing that as well.
Yeah.
So I literally shut the world out to a point, and just got the book out of the way. But I do intend to continue with it.
Yeah.
I had 3 or 4 sessions so far, and three sessions.
3 sessions.
3 sessions, and they were interesting. She cracked me on the very first day. The very first session we ever had, she cracked me.
Yeah.
And she cracked me talking about my birth and what happened when I was born.
Yeah.
And of course, I've got very little knowledge except for what was in my adoption paperwork, and so I feel like I've got a bit of a picture. And I felt indifferent to it. My birth name was David, and I've always maintained
David. Not that David.
Not David. I went to the chip shop to buy some chips. He always did some really weird lyrics, didn't he, David Bowie?
Yeah. He worked out. He used to just write stuff down and take stuff out of magazines and cut things out and just stick them down and then make up loads of shit, basically. But I mean, he's masterful.
He used to have like a scrapbook that had some maybe it's Maybelline. Was that the idea?
Just took words out of all sorts of things. Anyway, sorry, I digressed. I changed the subject.
Massively belittled my story there.
No, carry on.
And David was. Are you boring you?
No. I'm
yawning?
just a bit tired.
Okay. Well, we've done 49 minutes of this so far. So
have we really?
Yeah. So we'll probably wrap up in a minute, because I'd like to get it in under an hour.
Yeah.
Because we've also got loads of other fancy stuff to add in later.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think, we're going to be talking to other people. We're going to have different sections. We're going to have all sorts of things in here.
I'm going to write some music. I'm going to jazz it up.
Exactly.
It's going to be like proper. Anyway, no, the point was...
The point was your therapy.
Yeah, so I had this conversation with her about what happened when I was born, and I was like almost in tears talking to her about it, and I got this lump in my throat, and my head was heavy, and I was like really, really feeling it. And I had no idea where it had come from, because I'd felt so sort of disconnected from it for so long. And then all of a sudden, she tapped into something, and I still haven't really revisited it with her, so I don't really know exactly where that come from yet. Yeah. But that was incredible, and I don't know if it's just being in the therapy environment that immediately puts you on that back foot. Immediately you think they're going to be tapping into something. What are they asking me this for? So immediately you're hyper vigilant about it. I don't know. I think
you've got you have a slight personality trait of being quite dismissive of things sometimes.
No, I don't.
So I think if you don't think you don't need something, you're very like, nah, don't need it. It's fine. Nah, don't need that. Nah, and you put this barrier up, and you're not bothered. Can't be bothered. Your main thing is like, nah, can't be arsed with that. Not going to do it. So I think at that point when you were going through therapy, you were almost at the stage of, well, this is my take on it. You're at that stage of going, yeah, I should be doing this. I think I should be doing this. I want to do this. But still in a really kind of very closed off mentally from anyone else getting involved with what's going on with Brian.
Yes. And
you now coming out of it going, well, actually, I feel a lot different than I did 3-6 weeks ago, whatever. And it's a very easy thing for you to just to go, well, actually, I don't think I need it right now. But actually, I think right now,
that's very true. That's what I do.
I think right now is probably the right time for you to carry on with that, because you're at the time when you are going to be more open to listening to what potentially is going on, allowing yourself to open up to these things. And that could be one massive sort of unlocking of stuff that could then potentially give you more trouble in the future.
Yes, I agree. What you said.
What she said.
What she said. Yeah, I think you're right. And I am very good at... I'm a very placid person. Very happy to let things lie.
Yeah.
I will let it lie.
You wouldn't let it lie.
I would.
No, you wouldn't let it lie.
And so, I'm fine. But if you put me into a corner, I'll kick you in the balls.
Yeah.
Well, you've got any balls, but I mean...
I know, and you say this, and you said that to me about 3 times.
And I do that in a way that I'd be like, I would literally just dismiss everything that you say, and I would go against everything that you say.
Yeah,
You'd be like,
but why?
"Oh, the sun's out." Like, no, it's not.
Yeah, and the reason being, you would do that?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. It's just, I think it comes back down to the original. Anyone that's read the book will have noticed in there. There's a chapter called bullying, and I think a lot of it's probably coming from that. In as much as when I was a kid, I was bullied a few times and significantly, and even as an adult, even when I first started work, I was bullied quite a bit in various different workplaces, and you'll find out more in the book if you read the book, and I think a lot of it is about gaining control of that. I don't want to feel out of control, like I'm being, in an extreme way, bullied into something, and so I will kick back like a mule.
Because I've suffered from being bullied as a kid quite a lot, and never felt very liked within my peers in that way. I had my friends, but from the outer circle of the friends, then I always felt quite bullied, and I was bullied, and that didn't do that for me. It made me extremely quiet and internal, and made me not speak up and not say what I felt, and not say how I felt, not say what I wanted. So probably went down that route of being easily led, all that sort of stuff, and just took the easy path a lot of the time. Yeah,
and that's what I used to do. But I used to hate doing it, but I did it anyway. So I would say, in answer to your question, that is the reason why I probably do it. But I feel like I've just come up with that now. I don't feel like that's been in my back of my mind for ages. It's just something I've thought of just now.
Just this very second. Yeah. So, well, I've very much enjoyed chatting to you, Andrew.
I think we've probably got... I think we've got the first episode in the can.
The first episode of Who's Wally the podcast? Are you sure? Are you sure?
I think so, love.
Oh, my gosh.
So, I think we should wrap it up now. I suppose we should say that we will be back, and probably...
We will be back.
In about a month's time, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
We're going to try and do one once a month because we've got lives.
But also, we'd like to reach out to anybody else who potentially has listened to this. We'd love to hear from anybody. If there's anything that they'd like for us to talk about, anything they'd like to chat about,
Yeah, if anyone's got any free gifts to give us.
Yeah.
Yes.
If there's anybody else who feels that they have something that they want to share, and this is a very safe space for them to do that.
Yes, it's only broadcast to everybody in the world.
Well,
it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's only those who listen to it, though.
And you can come on and be completely anonymous.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No one's expecting you to say who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even Andy.
No. My name is Bleep.
You're not even a lady.
No, I'm not.
You've got an amazing accent on tonight.
Yes.
So there's that, and we've got So yes, I agree.
And there's going to be some guests coming up.
I've actually got 2 guests lined up already.
Brilliant.
So I'm not sure.
I can't wait.
I'm not going to divulge yet
No,
because
don't
I'm
tell
not
them.
sure in which order they'll come on and how it's going to work. But we will have 2 guests, and both of those guests, up to now, the guests we've got on, have not come from an adoption background, but have come from certain aspects of mental health. So that should be really interesting talking to them.
I'm looking forward to it.
And completely different angles. So that should be amazing.
That will be great.
And what else should we tell them? Oh, yes, you can get in touch using on Instagram with at Who's Wally Pod. And then there is the Twitter page at...
I think you'll find it's X these days.
Oh, well, okay. It feels wrong saying X, doesn't it?
No. What do? Do you Xy? Do you tweet? You don't tweet anymore. What do you do?
Well, I'm 50.
You post?
I'm 50. I'm going to say tweet. I don't care.
Oh, I'm 52.
Yeah,
No,
you're
I'm not
50.
52. I'm 50. I'm also 50. And
So we're going to say tweet.
yeah.
You can tweet us at Who's That Wallis. So that's Instagram at Who's Wally Pod, and the Twitter X whatever is at Who's That Wallis. IS, not ACE. I'm not a wrong trousers kind of man. Although I do have a penguin, but that's
He
not
loves
the point.
cheese, though.
I do love a bit of cheese. Oh, cheese! Grab it.
Grab cheese. Anyway, so thank you for listening. If you are. If you're not, you're missing out. The Who's Wally podcast. Created, produced and edited by Andy Wallis and M. Bacon. Please like and subscribe. If you or someone you know is dealing with any mental health issues and feel you need to talk to someone or find help, please go to mind.org.uk because you're not alone and there are people who can help.